Welcome to English with Clara. I'm really happy you're here. If you enjoy learning English through calm, meaningful stories, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps this channel grow and allows me to create many more stories for English learners around the world. Thank you so much. Now, find a comfortable place. Take a slow, deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Forget about work. Forget about your to-do list. For the next few minutes, this time is just for you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Childhood was easy. When I was a child, life felt very simple. I woke up every morning, and the day was already planned. School started at 8, lunch was at 12, dinner was at 7. Someone else made all those decisions. I just had to show up. I remember weekends, long, slow weekends, that felt like they lasted forever. My biggest problem on a Saturday morning was choosing between cartoons and going outside to play with my friends. That was it. That was the hardest decision I had to make. I didn't think about money. I didn't think about tomorrow. I didn't think about what other people thought of me. Not really. I just lived in the moment, completely and naturally, the way children do. My mother always had food in the kitchen. My father always fixed things when they broke. The house was just there, warm, safe, ready. I thought that was just how life worked. I thought the world was always like this, easy, organized, taken care of. I was wrong, but I didn't know that yet. And honestly, those years of not knowing were beautiful. The grass was green, the sky was blue, and the future was just a word that grown-ups used when they talked about boring things. I wasn't in a hurry to get there. Chapter 2. My first job. I was 17 when I got my first job. It was a small cafe near the centre of town. Nothing special. White walls, old wooden chairs, the smell of coffee, and warm bread. I worked on Saturday mornings, and sometimes on Sunday afternoons. I remember my first day very clearly. I wore a blue apron. That was too big for me. My hands were shaking a little when I took the first order. A woman asked for a large coffee and a croissant. I wrote it down 3 times to make sure I wouldn't forget. The work wasn't hard, exactly, but it was tiring, in a way I had never felt before. By the end of the morning, my feet hurt. My back was a little sore, and I felt something strange, something I couldn't quite name at the time. Later, I understood what it was. Responsibility. For the first time in my life, someone was depending on me. The cafe owner, the customers, even my co-worker, a girl called Sophie, who always laughed too loudly and moved too fast. They all needed me to do my part. And if I didn't do it well, it mattered. That feeling was new and a little scary. But at the end of that first Saturday, the owner gave me an envelope with my pay inside. I counted the money, slowly, standing in the small back room that smelled like cleaning products and old coffee. I had earned this with my own hands, with my own time. I bought myself a sandwich on the way home and ate it on a bench in the sun. It was the best sandwich I had ever tasted. Not because it was expensive, but because I had paid for it myself. Chapter 3. Paying. My first bills. I moved into my first apartment when I was 21. It was small, very small. One room, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom with a shower that sometimes ran cold for no reason. The walls were white, or they had been white once. Now they were more of a tired yellow. I loved it. For the first 2 weeks, I felt like an adult in a film. I made my own coffee in the morning. I bought my own groceries. I decided what time to go to bed. Nobody told me to turn off the lights. Nobody told me to eat my vegetables. Freedom, pure freedom. Then, the end of the month came. The rent, the electricity bill, the internet, the water, the phone, the insurance I had forgotten I signed up for. I sat at my small kitchen table with all the papers in front of me, and I did the maths, slowly. Then again, because I was sure I had made a mistake. I hadn't made a mistake. The money was almost gone. I had worked the whole month. I had been tired. I had been stressed. I had woken up early, 5 days a week. And now, after paying everything I needed to pay, I had very little left. I called my mother that evening. Not to ask for money, just to talk. She listened, and then she said, very quietly, "Welcome to adult life, my love." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So I did both. A little. Chapter 4. Learning the value of money. When I was a child, money was simple. You wanted something. You asked. Sometimes you got it. Sometimes you didn't. But the asking was easy. As an adult, I stopped asking, and that changed everything. I started to understand that money is not just numbers, it is time. Every euro, every pound, every dollar. It represents hours of your life, hours you spent working, thinking, being somewhere. You had to be. I began to look at prices differently. That expensive jacket in the shop window, that was 12 hours of work. The nice restaurant my friends wanted to try, 8 hours? A weekend trip? That sounded wonderful. 3 weeks of saving. At first, this way of thinking made me feel sad, like the world had become smaller, more limited. But slowly, I started to see something else. When you know the real cost of things, you choose more carefully. You stop buying things that don't matter. You start to value the things that do. I stopped buying coffee every morning on the way to work. Not because I was cheap, but because I realized I didn't actually enjoy that coffee. It was just a habit, an expensive, automatic habit. I started cooking at home more. Not every day. Some days I was too tired, and that was fine. But more than before. And the food I cooked tasted better than anything I could have bought. Because time and care are also ingredients. Money, I learned, is not about having more. It is about understanding what you truly need and making space for that. That lesson took me years to learn, and honestly, I am still learning it. Chapter 5. Happiness is different now. When I was young, happiness arrived like a surprise, sudden and bright. A birthday present, a snow day, an unexpected yes, when you were sure the answer would be no. It came fast and left fast, and you didn't think too much about it. You just felt it, right there, in that moment. Now, happiness feels different. It's quieter. It comes in smaller things. A warm cup of tea in the morning, when the house is still silent. A phone call with an old friend you haven't spoken to in months. A sunny Saturday with nothing urgent to do. It doesn't arrive like a surprise anymore. It arrives like something you have to notice, like something that was always there, waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. I used to think I would be happy when I finished school, when I got the job, when I earned more money, when I moved to a bigger place. There was always a when. Happiness was always one step ahead of me. But one ordinary Tuesday, I was washing the dishes after dinner. The window was open. The evening air was cool. There was music playing quietly in the other room. And I thought, this is nice. This is really nice. No big moment. No special occasion. Just a Tuesday evening. Dishes and music. And cool air. I think that was the moment I understood. Something important. Happiness. For adults. Is not something that happens to you. It is something you choose to see. You have to look for it. Every day. In small places. It is always there. You just have to remember to look. Chapter 6. What my parents never told me. My parents were good people. They worked hard. They loved us. They did everything they could. But there were things they never told me. Maybe they didn't know how. Maybe they thought I would figure it out on my own. Maybe they wanted to protect me for a little longer. They never told me that adults are tired, not just sleepy tired, but tired in a deeper way. Tired from making decisions, tired from worrying about things you can't control. Tired from trying to do everything right, and sometimes still getting it wrong. They never told me that friendships change, that some of the people you love most will slowly move in different directions. Not because anyone did something wrong, just because life goes different ways, and you can't always follow each other. They never told me that failure is normal, that you will try things that don't work, that you will make choices that, looking back, seem strange or even silly, and that this is okay. This is how it works for everyone. They never told me that they were also figuring it out. I used to think my parents had all the answers, that there was a moment, a specific, clear moment, when people became real adults who knew what they were doing. But one day, my father said something to me. We were sitting in his garden, drinking tea. He looked at the trees for a moment, and then he said, "You know, I still don't always know what I'm doing. I just try my best. That's all anyone does." He said it simply, like it was nothing special. But for me, it was everything. Nobody has all the answers. Everyone is trying. Everyone is a little lost sometimes. And somehow, that thought made me feel less alone. Chapter 7. the day I finally understood. There was no single moment, no lightning, no dramatic scene. Growing up happened slowly, like rain. You don't notice each drop. But one day, you look down, and everything is wet. But if I had to choose one day, one memory, I would choose this one. I was 26. My grandmother was very sick. We all knew that the time was getting short. One afternoon, I went to visit her, alone, just the two of us. She was sitting in her chair by the window, wrapped in a blue blanket. She looked small, much smaller than I remembered from my childhood, when she had seemed enormous to me, so strong, so full of energy. We talked for a long time about nothing important. At first, the weather, a book she had been trying to read, my work. And then she took my hand. Her hands were thin and cool, but her grip was still strong. She said, "You are a good person. I hope you know that. I hope you are kind to yourself." I didn't know what to say, so I just held her hand and nodded. On the drive home, I cried. Not from sadness, or not only from sadness. I cried because something had shifted inside me, something I couldn't explain with words. I understood, for the first time, that life is short, not in a frightening way, in a clarifying way. I understood that the people I love will not be here forever, and neither will I. And so, the time we have, the ordinary Tuesdays, the phone calls, the quiet evenings, all of it matters. All of it is precious. That was the day I finally grew up. Final reflection. Growing up isn't losing childhood. For a long time, I thought growing up meant losing something, losing the lightness, losing the wonder, losing the easy happiness of someone who doesn't yet know how complicated life can be. And in some ways, that is true. You do lose things. You lose the luxury of not worrying. You lose the feeling that someone else will always fix it. You lose the simple certainty that the world is safe and kind and ordered. But you gain things too. You gain depth, a kind of understanding that you can only get by living through things. The hard things, the confusing things, the things that break you a little, and then put you back together differently. You gain patience, not always, not perfectly, but more than before. You learn that most things take time, and that time is not the enemy. You gain gratitude, real gratitude, not the kind you feel when you get a present, but the kind you feel when you are sitting somewhere quiet and you realize, without anyone telling you, that this moment is good, that you are okay, that you are here. Growing up doesn't mean forgetting how to play. It doesn't mean becoming serious all the time, or forgetting how to laugh, or pretending that the world is not still full of wonder. It means carrying your childhood inside you, gently, carefully, while also walking forward. It means knowing that life is hard and beautiful at the same time, and choosing to look at both. The child you were is still there. She's still watching cartoons on Saturday morning. He's still running in the garden until it gets dark. They didn't disappear. They just grew a little quieter and a little wiser. And on the best days, the really good days, you can still hear them laughing